I'd like to give you 3 tips for your construction company to minimize the cost of any lawsuits that could happen in the future. The first tip is to make sure that your corporate entity is properly formed and has all the documents it needs. The second tip is about making sure that you have a proper contract that has been reviewed by a licensed California attorney to minimize any dangers to your company that come out of the contract. And the third one is to make sure your license is active throughout the length of the project. Now, I'm going to go into a little bit of detail with each one of these tips. My name is Mahyar Ghassemian. I'm the founding attorney of Ghassemian Law Group. We focus on business and construction litigation, as well as preventative measures. Let's start with tip number 1. Making sure that if your company is a corporation or an LLC or another type of an entity, it is up to date and its formalities are met. You start a corporation or an LLC because you want to make sure that your personal assets are protected. In order to do that, not only it has to be set up properly, but there are certain formalities that have to be met, certain conditions that the state of California wants you to do to make sure your entity stays whole and protects you properly. You need to hold meetings every year, and you need to reduce what happens in the meetings into meeting minutes. In addition to that, you have to have proper segregation of personal and corporate accounts, meaning you have a checking account for your corporation and put all the business expenses there and don't use it for your personal expenses. And then you also have to file certain things with the state of California, a statement of information, anytime there's a change, and at least once a year. And you put all of these together with a ledger that keeps track of who buys and sells shares and how much there is, and that keeps your company intact. The second tip that I have is that when you want to enter into a new project, make sure you know what the contract is all about. Now, I'm not talking about looking at the price and the scope of work and saying, oh, hey, we're good to go. No. What I'm talking about is the different provisions in there, such as indemnity provision, insurance provision, delay, force majeure, all of these things that can help protect your company. Make sure there's an attorney that can review it. And sometimes, even if it's a contract that's given to you by a very large corporation, the prime contractor, and you have very little bargaining power, at a minimum, we can tell you what are the minefields that are lying ahead, so you stay clear of those. And what I do for my clients is I tell them, here are the provisions that absolutely have to be met. So if a contract is saying, if you do not put your request for payment within 5 days, we don't pay you until another 90 days. That could be really problematic for a construction company. We make sure that you're aware of those and put them in a chart and give them to your staff. And finally is the license issue. Now, I know that all reputable construction companies have their licenses properly renewed, but we have seen situations where people are really busy. They're smack in the middle of a large construction project and they let the license expire. Under the laws of the state of California, the owner can take back all the money they paid you if your license was not valid and active throughout the life of the project. So those 3 tips should help you stay away from trouble. Our law firm, Ghassemian Law Group, has a focus on construction law. We have attorneys that are 25, 30 years experience in this field, and we'd be happy to help you in any one of these situations.